wonderful, and one of the reasons why it's considered a AAA gaming engine is because it has version control built into it. It has the ability to have version control built into it as in the editor as you work with it. That way, very large teams can check out assets, share assets as you work, and let you know if somebody else is working on something, so you don't have any syncing issues. You don't overwrite somebody else's work. But it also gives you a way of using a bunch of different computers and leveraging the different computers to do different tasks. So the one we're going to be talking about today, oh, well, you might be familiar with GitHub. There's definitely GitHub in Unreal. But it's not built into the engine. There's another one that's called Perforce, which is slowly taking over the Unreal community, which there's using Perforce as source control. The one we're going to be using today is one I think is probably the simplest to get going, and for this class it does everything we need, which is using Subversion in Unreal 4. And especially if you're on Windows, it's fantastic. It's a shell script. That means it's on, like, when you right click, it's in the context menu. And I just searched for it. There it is. There's a guide to it. I'm just going to go over really quickly how to do I have a chair over here. Do you want a chair? Or
Thank you so much.
yeah. So we're going to go over using SVN today to sync some stuff, and this here is a guide for you to go over if you want to really get into the details of how to use it for both locally, doing version control locally, just so you have backups in case you mess something up, how to do it in the cloud, and then how to do it inside of the Unreal Editor itself, which is the last portion right here. You'll see. So on Windows, there's a free option that is the kind of awesome called Tortoise SVN, and this is what everyone and their mother uses for SVN. It's free for Windows. On Mac, I think you have to pay like $5 for something. But you can, these Unreal projects, until you start getting into complicated plugins, all these projects are across platforms, so you should have no problem developing on both sides. Yeah.
Yeah, so if we use the SVN stuff, can we access any free cloud space to do that?
So
NYU.
at NYU, we could talk to the different departments about that kind of stuff. There might be limitations at like 5 gigabytes, and you've seen Unreal projects get really big really quickly.
Yeah.
I use DreamHost, which is really great for deploying a lot of wonderful things like Ruby and all this kind of stuff. This is what I host with, and I have unlimited storage for SVN. It's very simple to set up, and I will do a test one for you guys to show you. This is like, there's a section called Goodies, and then Subversion, and then I have unlimited storage stuff. So I have Frames for Project, I have my VR Project Giant, I have all of ESI's for Unreal stuff, I have some student stuff in here, and we just come down here. It defaults to my awesome project. That remains to be seen once you finish it. So we start off humble. And we'll just class test. And I'm just going to give it the same name and ID. And then it's going to be on my my website, and it's called class test. And then I make a login and username here. And it's going to be Todd and test 1, 2, 3. So now you guys can all log into this and screw me up. So I'm just going to create it, and it'll be ready for me in like 10 minutes. I'll be able to put things in my cloud storage. And then this is a free unlimited thing. If you do DreamHost, you can definitely look up free cloud storage, and there might be options to have this kind of stuff through your department. And it's the same thing with GitHub, right? Like there's different kind of storage features, and having private GitHub and stuff like that is, there's a limit to how many users you can do that with, like the ITP GitHub and stuff. I don't know if you've.
The question. So
Yeah.
you also mentioned the pre-source, right?
Perforce, yeah.
Pre-source. What's that platform to use it? Is something like still a cloud platform?
Yeah, it's still a cloud platform, and it's free for up to teams of 20. Perforce is, the software client is P4V, and which is Perforce Visual Client. It's also a free download, and it's a very similar process. I've just been using Subversion a little bit longer, and most of my class projects have been on it. And that's what I did when I was taught by the guy from EA Games. He's like, yeah, I prefer Subversion, but it is older. So I'll get an email in a moment and say, Hey, you have your thing. It's ready. It's awesome. So let's go local. I'm going to go into the computer next door. And now we have Inception. So once I install Tortoise SVN, I can, you see that I now have a context menu here inside of, maybe you can't see that, but what it says is SVN checkout, and then I have a Tortoise SVN with a lot more options. And I can create a folder, or I can just go into one of my projects, like my week 1 demo. I wonder if that's going to be a lot of crap. Doesn't matter. Week 1 demo, and I can say import. And it's like, where do I want to import? Well, that's literally going to be what I just created. It's me, www dot, or I go back to my thing over here, and it's called class test. And I'm going to copy, and TeamViewer is the best. And it's not going to be ready for me yet, but essentially, all I'm doing, it hasn't been created yet. What it's going to do is going to import everything in this folder into that cloud and store it. Then it's a process of checking out files and pushing files back in there. And so every time I start a project that I'm working with other people, first thing I do when I sit down is I check out everything to make sure I get the latest updates from all my friends. But as you see in these folders, like this one called Raoul, it lets me know that by that red exclamation point that it is synced to a cloud server, but it's not updated the most recent version. So I know that I should be updating to it. But this other project here called Utopia 411 it's all synced up and I'm ready to go. So I don't need to worry about checking it out. And that kind of context icon is really helpful when working on a project. And then I'll wait until I'll give it a moment to propagate to my servers. But for right now, I can open up that same week 1 demo. And then right here, we have connect to source control. And I put the same information right here, the URL, my username, and my password, and then I can run with source control. And it's actually happening live. As I double-click items, it checks them out so somebody else can't get into those items. It slows down your computer, though. It slows down the editor. Actually, not your computer. It slows down the editor. So it might be safer to do it that way, but I prefer not to worry about it. Just mess around with it, see if you need it. Maybe you don't even need this at all. Just don't put it on a Dropbox, because that'll just, you need to have something where you can lock out files, because otherwise you're going to have conflicts, and you're going to spend all your time trying to fix all these conflicted copies. And as you've seen, Unreal projects can get really big and have lots of files, and then you're just like searching for conflicted copy and deleting and deleting. Like, you can tell I'm like PTSD about this. Don't use Dropbox. So I will run without source control because I'm crazy. All right. But also, let's say you're just working on a project with yourself, or you just don't have any friends. You can go. You can go into your project, and I don't have to make it. I don't have to make it on the cloud. I can just create a new folder for project solo, and it's an empty folder, and I can just say create a repository here. Towards SVN, create a repository here. Say OK. And now this thing right here is a database. This is like Fort Knox. I can't even see my files. It's like encrypting them and saving them in versions for me. Only if I go into the repo browser could I actually see what's inside. And this is where I would take a project and I would just literally drag and drop it into that database, close once it uploads, and then I would check out a working copy locally, and then I'd be working on my own hard drive, just saving versions, and it's just a safe way to make sure that you don't ruin any of your files. Then what happens is you have a list of all the files. Let me actually show you. You have a list of Show log. Just tell me to wait. So this is a list of every single upload that I've done. And I can actually do this for the entire project and revert to different entire projects, or I could do this on a per file or per folder basis. Should like just a small portion get deleted or messed up, you can retrieve your information this way. And you just as you commit, you check out things, but then you also push things through by committing. And when you commit, you make these little notes so we know what happened every time. So on this one, Raul fixed the UVs on his ship, and we know that if we want to go back to that broken UV version, we can then revert back to this change, either for the file or for the project itself, and have that copy there. So maybe it's a little dry, maybe it's not as fun as emissive textures, but version control could be a lifesaver, and also can facilitate working in a group as you guys get more and more complicated with your stuff. And I don't want you to, lose everything. That would be just awful, and it's happened. So, word to the wise.
So, can you tell them when someone else is working on the files? It lets you know?
Yeah, it says this file is checked out. Yeah.
So that's very that should have a common to the same
And then Perforce is extremely similar in the whole process. It has a visual client, and you have you can make local or you can have it on the cloud, and it's becoming the industry standard. I just haven't done it as much, and you're welcome. I mean, they have step-by-step guides in the inside of Unreal, so and the documentation. So you have fun with that, and maybe that could be somebody's specific thing that they could learn it themselves, process that, and then train their team on the best practices, and you guys decide what are those best practices. Like, let's G-chat first before we do it, just to make sure something's happening. What kind of checks and balances you want in place before you do that. So, anyone have any wonderful questions about version control, cloud storage, websites?
So do you highly recommend DreamHost?
I highly recommend DreamHost. I've never had a problem with it ever. It just told me when I signed up, it's like, you have unlimited stuff. And like it deploys, all this other kind of things for you. I've seen people try to learn Subversion, and like they're trying to like do scripting, and they're trying to do stuff on their server and and it's just like you saw that was a minute, and I had a Subversion repository.
It's right here. It's like $1 for $40 gigs a month. That's actually not terrible.
Oh well, they might have. I've been using it for 5 years, so that maybe I've grandfathered in.
Maybe.
Yeah. I think most free options are limited to.
When you open the page,
So yeah, most free storage is like 5 gigabytes, and that's just not going to cut it for an Unreal project, more than likely. But the one also important thing, and you guys will go through the list of all this stuff you could do. You don't need to sync all the folders. There's a lot of junk folders. Like saved is like screenshots and like error logs. Intermediate, like this is like a lot of files you don't need to sync, and you can try to keep everything to a minimum by only adding certain things to your repository, and then you can go to other items. Do it again. Wasn't really supposed to be tutorial on this, but that's fine. So here I can say that you can see that some of these items don't have any icons on it because I right-clicked on it and I said add to ignore list. Therefore, if I upload this entire folder, it won't do anything with that one. And then if I were to create a new folder, I'm going to call it Hi Raul, so he'll see it when he downloads it again. I'll right-click on there. Then I would flag it as add, and then it's adding that folder to my repository. There you go. It's up there. Now he'll text me and say, "Hey, Todd." Yeah, he's a really nice guy. So that's it. And we're going to move on because this is the list of everything we're doing today. All right, let's get going. So, character creation. We talked about Tilt Brush already. Let's go first of all to the ones that we can use just kind of out of the box. There is a open source project, Make Human. This is done through Carnegie Mellon. and it's software with sliders and all that kind of stuff. You could download the software for free, and if you want to get the nightly build, that includes yes genitalia. But I don't have that one. So and this is kind of just up to you to explore. I'm just show you that this does exist. I'm not going to teach you every single feature of this because that's you're all very intelligent people. Oh, it's just like in a year, it's evolved considerably. There's a lot of contributors to this now. And yeah, this is open source. You can get the whole source stuff. And there's like a wiki, and there's all this information. It says, make human as character creation suite. It is designed for making anatomically correct humans. Parts as program contain nudity. Do you want to proceed?
I didn't like how it's
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, right? So there it is. You have, modeling, so this is all sliders. And look at this. This is like an interesting conversation piece. We have a slider for more feminine to more masculine, or what they're saying is gender in here. We have age slider, so we can age certain things. All right, there we are. Right? So we want a muscle baby. There's muscle baby, six-pack muscle baby. It has race sliders. I mean, this is a wonderful conversation topic. Yeah, this is a conversation starter, guys. Here's my breast augmentations and firmness, vertical position. But yes, genitals is blocked off until we have the nightly build. Yeah. But you can make your own thing. Like, this is open source. You can, if you want to have wings on a slider, you bring in wings. You want to have horns. This is open source software that you can hack, and you can create your own stuff. That, like, the other examples I'm going to show you don't have this kind of flexibility. It definitely takes, you have to get into the Python scripting and that kind of stuff. But and you can make really ugly things in this really quickly. And there's like a random button. So you see, I'm in the modeling. Overall, I'm doing modeling. Then what are the different modelings I can do? And then there's different categories of modeling. Like, I can just model the butt. Here we go. Buttocks volume. That's a little bulbous. Yeah. And then we have, we can randomize. This is going to randomize everything. Yeah. There's that's about as benign as you possibly could have gotten with a randomize button when it comes to all that stuff. And so we have other geometries. Now here's where you can add on hats and clothes. All these things are here. And again, you can make all your own clothes. You can import your own clothes. And yeah, I'm sure we have hair. Let's go. Oh, you mean the eyes, hair, and teeth? Yeah. So there's hair, and we can do a bob. There we go. This is what is this? This is called I want to talk to your manager haircut. All right. And then we can start getting into materials. So we can do some more preset materials for skin, hair, and eyes. And then you can open up the software itself. Like, if you know how to open up Mac software, you can right click and say show package contents. You can go into this and you can find all these models and find all these textures and edit them yourself if you want to put a logo on the shirt or whatever. It's all hackable. It's a lot of fun. Just remember that we normally do, so you can add in your skeleton here, and we pose it. We want to make sure that we export as a T-pose. There it is. So this is now ready to export and ready to do what we need to do for iKinema or whatnot. And then CMU also has a huge database of mocap as well, so you can get some stuff from them. Explore it. They're doing the Weird Realities thing this weekend. Everyone's hanging out there. That's where Javier is. So yeah, there's a lot. I'm gonna move on, but yeah, I hadn't opened this up in a year, and I lost 4 hours of my life last night to this, and it was all yeah. Yeah. Everything is what's called morph targets or blend shapes. So when everything has all the different features to be able to be malleable and adaptable. Yeah, 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 yeah. I would. Yeah, but let's take it for a spin. If it can't, then it can't. But then yeah. Hey,
Before I search for it, is there a way to like batch export a bunch of random things? Like that's hit go.
it's open source, man. I'm sure you can find it on the forums. There's a whole forum, thing for it. If you dream it, it can happen. And then it ties into Blender, and it has like this whole scripting interface with going into Blender that you can do stuff with. That I haven't really tried things in, but like if you want to do wings and horns and all these other kind of things that aren't built into it, it makes it fairly easy. It seemed pretty complicated to me, but it says it's easier. So that's Make Human. That's super awesome.
Where do you export that?
Oh, let us find out. I think that it would be. Let's see. We don't want to render it. Viewer scene settings, plugins, general. I exported yesterday, so it definitely is possible. Utilities. This would be a utility thing. Yeah, that would help. Well, we could find that out together and we could share it. I definitely saw it. It's definitely a thing. Files. Export. Booyah. We have a Collada, which is a digital asset exchange file. FBX, which is Filmbox. OBJ. Ogre 3D. Don't know what that is. Anyone know Ogre 3D? All right. Sounds cool. I'm now interested into it. And STL, in case you want to 3D print it or CNC route it or something. Yeah, Yeah. So this is how you make little versions of yourself. And what's kind of funny, if you go to the website for it again, like all the contributors make models of themselves and upload it, so you can see who's contributing to the project and like they see how good they are at using their own software. So that's fun. Are you sure you want to export? Yes. So that's fun. There's also Mixamo is tied in with now. Adobe bought Mixamo like a week before we started last year's class, which is great. And they built a thing called Fuse. So it's now part of the Creative Suite. So again, I'm going to plug for the Creative Suite educational prices. There's now Adobe Fuse CC. So I just go look for Fuse. And this is very much the same thing. It's sliders to create people. It's not open source, it's not really hackable, but you can, if you know your digital content creation tools, you can always do whatever you want to do with it. But here we go. We have a female elf, as we often do. So it has like more presets. This is more limited, but there's less chances of making horrible things. So, all right, yeah, true. I mean, you know, it's very Frankenstein, right? Or just like building it. But because it's part of Adobe Suite, you can like export some of these materials and textures into Photoshop to edit them directly. Yeah, this is free. I think there's unlimited. So once you build your thing here, there's a button at the top that says animate, and it actually pushes it into your Mixamo account. And I think you have unlimited rigs and animations from Fuse to Mixamo, whereas there's other restrictions if you don't have a Mixamo account. I think watch your limitations. So I don't want you to like lose your 10 free characters or your 10 whatever if you don't have an Adobe account. But yeah, we've assembled. Well, we should probably do arms. I mean, we don't have to, right? There we go. Bum, bum, bum. Looks great. There's also randomize on this as well, so we can randomize everything, but it's more about like there we go, that's great. Yeah, this is just, didn't I say something about you can't make us ugly things in this one? I don't know. So, oh great, let's go parachuting or whatever, I don't even know. Yeah, she definitely needs a goatee. And then we can go into, and if we click on the part of the body, we can see the different fabrics that it's using, and we can increase the resolution and make it have more normals. You can find out where these files come from and export them into Photoshop and edit them later on. So yeah, there's a lot of options for here. We're creating. It's just normals are how light reflects off the polygons. Like it's how it does shadows. If you want it to be have like this really dynamic look, then maybe. But anything too much of anything is probably not good. And also, if you're interested in VR, normals actually don't really hold up in VR as well. It's a trickery thing that works on the screen, and you can mess around with that to find out. So I have. Oh, I saved it. I really didn't want to save that. I wouldn't forget I ever made that. Discard. Okay, great. So I've talked to a lot of people in the first lab session. I found that a lot of people using Cinema 4D, and so I wanted to show how easy it is to rig a character that I got from Tiltbrush in Cinema 4D. All right, so let's see which one it is, though. Unable to view. So we need to have something we could do, though. Great. So Tiltbrush, when you bring in your character to trace or whatever, if you don't place it at the 0, inside of your VR volume, if you don't place it on the ground, it'll end up being, when you import it or export it out and import it to a digital content creation tool like Cinema 4D, it'll be like way up high or not centered or maybe not the right scale. So you kind of need to know how to manipulate certain things like pivot points. So what I have here is I have the base mesh, and then this is my geometry. Every new color, every new texture in Tiltbrush you use will export a different model. So you can have a whole stack of models if you use a lot of different textures, and then you have to remake them when you're in Unreal. They're just going to be like ribbons. We can kind of explore this a little closer. That this is just like, even though this was a cool like particle system, this is just a ribbon inside the FBX file. We'd have to recreate this as a particle emitter or something like that. But once you have everything centered and aligned, I'm just going to go to the front view. I used to use this tool all the time. I don't use it anymore. I'm going to get rid of the other one. And over character, I have character builder. I'm just going to do character. And so this has some different settings. I am going to make it a mocap character. That's how awesome this is, that it has mocap, and I can do mix-a-mo. So this is now creating the exact thing that we've been working with the whole entire time. The exact same workflow for the perception neuron, which I showed today, and for iKinema. So great. That's why I kind of chose Cinema 4D, because it actually does the mix-a-mo stuff. So I think if I hold down Control and I click, let me hide my polygons really quick, or just move this character to the side. 1 second. So when I created that thing, I created the hips to neck automatically just by clicking on character. Then if I go back to my character, I can hold down, I think, Control and then click on arms, and it makes, no, is it Command on a Mac? And now it made 2 arms. If I just clicked it once, it would make 1 arm at a time, and that's kind of a waste. We got hands, that's fantastic. Let's go back up to that pelvis, because remember this is hierarchical. It's all coming off the pelvis bone. So now I'm going to do legs. And there we go. There's a skeleton. And because I had this mesh selected, when I created the character, it already scaled the skeleton to fit my character. I mean, boom. How easy is that? Like, I quit 3D back in the day because I was like, this is too hard. This is so easy now. So, put it right there. And there are some adjustments we can make. Like, I think the fingers are probably not going to be anywhere correct. And that's a level of detail that we can get into on our own time. But essentially, you can turn on symmetry. So we're going to go here. We're going to go into adjust. Adjust. And then we have a symmetry button clicked there. Therefore, everything I do to my one hand will happen to the other hand. And then I can just move these points. And it moves these bones. And I can make everything fit to a reasonable proximity of where they need to be and where for the mesh I want to drive. So this needs to go back there. And, pretty cool. Maybe needs to go in a little bit more. And then down. And I'm happy. It's good enough for government work. And then I'm going to go to binding. And what do I want to bind it to? I want to bind it to this light geometry. Boom. And then now we have a character that we can export. See, it bounded a skin. And now, if I go back to these bones, and let's say I go to like the right hand, right arm, right hand. The animate tab doesn't work with the mocap. I already tried. You can't add a walk to this one. But it can add, it has some built-in animations you can do with the other skeletons. The mocap one is to be driven by mocap, so it doesn't do the thing. So now this character is bound to it, and I can export this whole thing as an FBX or an OBJ, and then I can throw it into Mixamo, and then I can start putting in canned animations on it, or I can start putting it into Unreal and start driving stuff with there. So this is how you do tilt brush. We now have like a lot of tools. I want to see some amazing or awful or hideous things, next week. But the world's your oyster, and now you don't have to do just characters in tilt brush. You can create all your assets in there as well. I gave you a link in the syllabus to more details on how to import and export. So refer to that and let me know if you have any questions. And we're done with Cinema 4D. It's painless. Yeah. Quit. There we go. So that's fun. Where's my list of things? We did. So what we're going to do is we're going to come back at 8 o'clock. Let's take a break, and then we'll get into materials and then get into the perception neuron. So yeah, I'll see you guys at like 8 on the nose. Axis Neuron is the software that you use to record and stream data from these suits. And I'm going to go over to the Windows computer because it's only Windows. So there's a plugin for Unreal. There's actually a couple, and I want to make sure you get the right one. The right one is called, you're going to search for Perception Neuron UE4. And the first thing that comes up is not the right thing. And this is what a lot of people get confused with. So I did the struggle for you, so you don't have to learn from me. Stand on the shoulder of giants. I'm pretty much a giant. So so it says right here, in the meantime, there is an official plugin. Use this. So it's a very similar looking page. And this is the official Perception Neuron plugin. And it is just fantastic. I was showing people earlier, and they're like, what? This stuff does what? And I was like, yep. And look at that. There's the SVN. So now you can actually check out all the different plugins for the different versions. And apparently it's not whatever. And then it's going to be everyone, and the password's 123. And you'll see the different engine versions. I've just been working with 412 since that's where iKinema's at. That's where our OptiTrack plugin is in. I know we want to soar like eagles to go to 413, but I did test 413. It does work, and it works just fine. And then there's a demo project. Honestly, don't even worry about any of the other stuff. Just use the demo project as your starter. It's a very small project, and just work from there. It just works. Don't worry about compiling plugins from source and all. Just use this demo project. Week 5 demo for your lab homework, if you're doing it here, has already been started with it. It works fine. We took it for a ride today, and it's awesome. So I highly recommend you using this demo. And then it has a PDF and both Chinese and English for going through this. And then if we go back to the plugin page, there's also some video tutorials for how to go through everything, which is essentially what I'm going to show you today. And we're going to go back to Windows Town. So in Windows Town, we have Week 5 demo. And this is just kind of like how we've been doing it. We're like keeping everything encapsulated in one. So if we want to go see everyone's examples for perception neuron stuff, it'd be great to have everything contained. But I know you guys can do this on any laptop, any Windows laptop. You guys are able to run these perception neurons. You just need to have a router to connect them because they're Wi-Fi suits. Or you can just plug them into a data cable USB, but then you're tethered to your computer, which is supposedly the thing that's going to demagnetize the neurons anyway. So that sounds like a dangerous proposition. But if you guys like to roll like that, you're just going to be buying me new little neurons. So I'll just make a new world really quick. I got assets. I got levels. And my new level is going to be a little basic thing. Here's some things for me to knock over. Built in. Boom. And so if you guys remember all the way back 2 weeks ago, we used the OptiTrack client origin. Well, guess what? Perception neuron manager. This is the 0, perception neuron, and we're going to put it into our world wherever we want to. That seems fine with me. And in the details panel, all we have to specify is what port we're sending it on. We're just going to be doing this on the same computer, so we're just going to be sending it localhost. I've already changed the axis neuron, which I'll show you in a second, to 7002. All right. So what is this perception neuron, axis neuron stuff? Let's find out. And you're about to see the best splash screen of all time. Well, where's the other one? There it is. There we go. Don't you just love these people? All right. So it's looking for my suits. It's like, hey, where's your Wi-Fi connection? Where's the suits? We're not going to do the suit right now. We're going to put on the suit in a few minutes. But I'd rather demo the software and have this all in a concise video for you guys to refer to later on. I think it's over on the other screen, so I'll just pop over there. There it is. So this is Axis Neuron. This is their version of like Motive or whatever. And each of these dots over here on the right side, this is your characters, your hands. These will be blinking green when everything is connected and they're being tracked. Yellow if it's losing tracking, and red if they're not functioning correctly. Also, we have Kat Sullivan here, who is a alum of Bodies in Motion from last year. She is very intimate with these suits and has a great reference. Also, over at ITP, there's Matt Romine. And you know, these both, if you guys have quick questions, ask them. If you have long, tedious questions, you can take up my office hours.
Matt and I have office hours too.
So you have a lot of resources and you have a lot more flexibility with this week's lab. We just need to make sure that one suit gets back to ITP for people. But I do want you to do it as a group, though, just because it needs multiple people to put them on. All right, so what's great about this stuff is that we have built-in mocap. So here is Master Lou Performance. I double-clicked on it, and now I have a performance. I have a little timeline. I want to loop, and I hit play. I can right-click and just move around, and there is that. This was a live recorded session that we now have. This could be something you've done. This is what they've done, and we want to set it up to stream. So this is the streaming tab for them is under File and Settings, and the broadcasting is the last tab. We are going to do localhost, so that's 127.0.0.1. And then I'm sending it over on the same computer on port 7002. That's where I allocate what port I want to receive it in Unreal. And then I've clicked BVH. This means BioVision. This is a classic form of motion capture data, and how it streams over UDP the rotations of the IMUs. And then we're going to send it out binary. That's just how the plugin receives it. There's also the option to send it as a string. Sending it as a string would mean that you can capture it in any human readable form in MaxMSP or any of your creative coding platforms, and you can get the rotations of all these of all this data on there. In fact, I can just say string for right now, just as a proof of concept. Say Okay. Come back over to the other monitor. And then, so Max has a couple of objects for receiving UDP. I'm going to use some of the ones that are built in Java for it. Is it on the other screen again? Yeah, it's sitting on you. You could do TCP as well, but the plugin that we're using is UDP. The wrong one is the TCP one. It's just more complicated, and this way it completely mirrors what we do with Kinema, and it makes it like not redundant information. So I don't know what that means. I'm gonna hit new, open recent. So we still have the other side playing, and now that's all the data. This is coming over. Oops. Using a Windows from a Mac computer over the internet is just one of the best things. All right. So we're just receiving on the port 702, and then I am getting all these numbers. And I can just say, and just so you can see it in a different visualization. Oh, so going back over here, it streams it out underneath. You have different characters. This is like index 0, and it's named char00. There's like a default for this. Going back over here, I need to route out that data. I have it called avatar. So char, boom. And now, there we go. That is just 180 theremins waiting to go. All right. Anyway, so back to the real deal. Don't save. So Unreal is waiting for us. Let's come back over to the other monitor and make sure we switch the data stream back to binary. And there we go. Okay, so we have a level, and we have this port opened up at 7002. So let's do a character. Let's get a character up and running. This is gonna be very similar to the whole workflow we did for iKinema. I have a characters folder. I'm gonna make a new folder for week 5 demo. And let's bring in my girlfriend, this female base mesh. So this is a skeletal mesh. We want to make sure we have the mesh and the skeleton. Bring in the materials and textures. Doesn't not really that important because we have no materials or textures really on it. It's just a blank material. Which, for fun, that's fun. We could take a look at the material quick. I save my level, and so this is there in a week 5 demo. If you need to refer to it. Just for fun, we're gonna take a look at this, and we were talking about emissive earlier. That is right here, emissive color. We can just take another color, or I could take just like the blue channel or something. I don't know. Let's go in here, make this a little bit more fun. And then I'm going to multiply. I'm holding down M key and clicking. But it's probably not going to work over TeamViewer, so I'm going to right click and type in multiply. And I can give this a variable. I can make this a scalar parameter that I could drive with audio should I want to. Right now I'll give it a constant. So I'm going to make this an emissive, or a constant. There we go. And I'm going to make this 20. And I'm going to multiply the color by 20. Most of the other values are from 0 to 1, but emissive is the one you can drive. Shunk, shunk. And we're happy. Ta-da! So, there's what that is, guys. Go to town. Show no mercy. Everything below. You can... all right, now we're doing materials, damn it. So now I'm going to say that we're going to make it we're going to make it translucent so we can have some alpha on there. And I'm going to use my favorite node, which is the Fresnel. Give it some more constants. This one's going to be 5 or 4. This is going to be 0.01. And then we can multiply and multiply them together. Multiply. This times this times this times, let's just do silent tutorials. Or maybe we could just go straight into opacity. I'm doing that wrong. Anyway, Fresnels are fun. We'll get to that next week. Got a little distracted. There you go. So now I have like just the outside is showing up. It's pretty cool. 0.04. Anyway, so it's like a little rim light thing. And you can multiply the multiply by the multiply. And we can make it emissive only on the edges. Here we go. That's got a little bubble. There you go. You can keep that one, guys. All right, so that's cool. Anyway, what we're doing? Oh yeah. Okay, perception neuron. Woo! Man, I got into it. I had a cranberry juice. I had a cranberry juice with the break and like my sugar high. Okay, so off my skeleton, I want to create an animation blueprint, and we're gonna call this ABP Todd's girlfriend, and I'm gonna save, and I'm gonna go in here, and where we did the iKinema node last time, we're gonna right click, and I'm gonna say perception neuron, perception neuron. I wonder what options I have. Well, not much, just a new pose calculation. I click it, and then let's go back to that node. What did that? Oh, did that just do the thing that we had to do manually in iKinema? Oh, that just automatically did it for us. It has just paired all our mocap data directly to the skeleton of our mesh. We're ready to rock, guys. That was awesome. These suits, the software, stellar. So this won't always happen right, and you'll have to do it one by one. But these Mixamo meshes, it recognizes it and matches it up. Mocap data equals your character's data. So let's get it going. So blueprint done. Or that's animation blueprint, driving how the animations are functioning. So let's make a little actor blueprint that we want to put it inside of. It's going to help BP girlfriend. There we go. And I'm going to double click on it. We're going to add two components. We're going to bring in that skeletal mesh, and then we're going to add a component for perception neuron, so we could say put data on this character using this character's name. So I am going to select the skeletal mesh here, add component. You see it now knows which skeletal mesh I want to bring in. Great. I could all just drag it in. I don't need a little scene root, which is just a visual cue of where my blueprint is in the level. And I can go over here, choose the animation blueprint I want to use, which is this one. Great. And then add a component, which is going to be perception neuron. I can type that in, or I can search for it. And what does perception neuron need to know? It needs to know the name of the character. The name of our character is char00. I'm going to compile, save, and drag in this blueprint. All right, fingers crossed. I'm now receiving data from the perception neuron. Is that how you guys do it?
I think so.
Okay.
I always have a suit on and I set it up.
Oh, okay.
on the computer.
So this is the live data. This is super cool, super easy. Look, we just did this in no time, right? Like this lab is gonna be super easy. But the perception neuron has one other amazing feature, and dear, I wish I could have told you about it earlier, but you guys were ahead of the schedule. You can export mocap data from Motive directly into the perception neuron. Once you have this retargeting done, into this perception neuron plugin, and it understands these BVH files that we can get directly from Motive. This is the simplest way to get mocap data onto a character. But it's not live.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
So this is live right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you, I'm going to export out of this, or exit out of this, and I'm going to go over to the perception neuron, and I'm just going to save a BVH file. This is like the most common, well, C3D I guess is the most common, but this is, anyway, I'm going to, BVH, BioVision, it's human readable, it's just all the numbers are delineated by tabs, just spaces in between. You can read it if you wanted to. I'm going to call it character. I'm going to export it to the my project that I'm doing today, which was called Week 5 Demo. Wait for it to wake up. No items. Screw you. Week 5 Demo. Oh, it might be in... No, that was at my house. Okay, whatever. I'm going to select that folder. And I'm going to call it something awesome, like Master Loop Perform. That sounds great to me. Export. So, jammed through all that, exported that file. Come over here, and let me find it real quick. Can I put it at the root here? I put it in Week 5 Demo. Where's my project? Let me show and explore. Oh, I put it in this repo. Okay. This is in the SVN repo. Content. Imports. Get the other folder. Let's put it over here. So, long story short, now BVH data is actually something that Unreal understands, whereas before it would have said, no, this is not a real file. We now have a BVH file. We have mocap data directly in here. This is the best part about this plugin. And if I go back to the lady right here, instead of giving it the character name I want to get the streaming from, I can say none, and I can choose it. And what you can't tell is I'm no longer using that that live data. This will just be the canned performance. So you can export from Motive any of this stuff. We happen to have an 8-year-old Tai Chi master, also called Master Lu, that came here and we have a whole bunch of files you can use, and if you want like Tai Chi. Anyway, this is great. This is an awesome way of using motion capture data, being retargeted with this plugin in no time, and that's pretty much like how to use the software. And yeah, you don't even have to have the suits to really just work with it and mess around with it. So I think that that's enough for today. Going